안녕하세요, 여러분. Hi, guys. It's me, 노래방 프라 프란체스카입니다. 만나서 반갑습니다. I'm back with another video, this time talking about being plus size, overweight in Asian countries, specifically in Korea versus Japan. I already made another video about being overweight in Korea, so please go and check that out. That is quite detailed, but bear in mind, again, it's my own experience and it might be different from yours, or it's just my experience, my bias doesn't mean that it's gonna be the same for everybody or that it was the same for everybody, so everything is filtered with my own um, eyes. All right, so I lived in Japan also for 10-11 months, and in Korea for 7 years. So I have more experience being overweight in Korea, because when I was living there I was really overweight. I'm talking about 116 kilograms at my heaviest. I am not ashamed of sharing that because I'm very proud of my weight loss. I worked very hard for it to get healthier and happier. It's still going on. It's like being on a diet. It's a change that you do for life. It's not just a thing of a few months. You always for people who struggle with these problems, it's like a daily challenge. Every day you have to keep on track, and some days you slip back into old habits, and you just like fall into regret, and you're like, oh no, tomorrow I have to go back on track. Today was not so good. I failed today. Tomorrow is another day. So it's always like that. Every day is a challenge to be healthy, right? But that should be for everyone, I guess, especially in this modern world where we are surrounded by fast food and unhealthy choices around us. It's very difficult to keep your compass, your moral compass, working, right? So yeah, when I was in Japan, it was until 1 month and a half ago. So I guess I'm still a bit chubby, but it's not as bad as when I was in Korea, I guess, right? So keep that in mind. But I visited Japan also a few years ago, maybe, I don't know now, 5 to 6 years ago, and I was very overweight when I visited. So I can talk about my experience at that time. So yeah, let's dive straight into it. And if you like the video, please leave a like, leave a comment with your opinion, and subscribe to my channel for more content. If you would like me to talk about other topics about Korea or Japan, please leave a request down below. Please don't ask me about how to lose weight, because everybody's body is different. I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to give any advice to anybody and take the responsibility for their health. So I know this might sound a little bit harsh, but this is each person's personal journey, and you need to find the right people for you that can help you. And don't feel discouraged, because there's always, even though the situation might look hopeless, there's always somebody who can be right for you. And if you don't have money, it's okay. You can still get healthy like I did. We are very lucky that we have the internet with a lot of free information, and YouTube with amazing videos made by doctors for free, guys. So please do your research. Don't expect someone else to just give you the answer. Like, you need to study a lot and to try a lot of things on yourself, on your body, because you don't know, everybody's body is different. And so yeah, you need to find out what works best for you in terms of diet, exercise, and also for your mental health. So yeah, guys, please take care of yourselves. Don't ask me for any advice. And if you still want to know how I lost weight, I talked about it in a previous video more in detail. Yeah, let's talk about my experience as an overweight person. When I was living in Korea, I was very overweight. So first of all, it was very difficult to find clothes my size, uh, for sure. I mean, when I was in Italy, still I could find something in stores. I'm talking in stores, because online you can still find something. Although, 10 years ago when I was very overweight, even the online choices were quite limited, and you had to mostly order from the US, which entails like very expensive shipping fees. And even though you order online, you cannot try the clothes on, you don't know how they fit, and most of the times you kind of have to be happy with like like with what they sell. Like the designs I found were not as cute as like sizes for regular people. So the shipping fees were very expensive, the clothes were very expensive, and Shein was still like at its beginnings. So Shein actually was one of the few websites which was having like plus size clothes. So sometimes I did order from them, but the quality, it is what it is, right? So yeah, in Korea, free size clothes are very, very popular. So sometimes I could find like very baggy t-shirts or hoodies, like maybe the one I'm wearing right now, which on a Korean body or like a regular size person would be like very, very baggy and loose, but for me they would fit just right. But it was a totally different story for pants, trousers for my UK friends. Almost impossible to find them. So yeah, it was a struggle. I did find at the time, and I think it's still pretty active, the plus size community in Korea. A bunch of girls who support each other, and sometimes you can find the Facebook group. I'm sure it's still on, and they would have these kind of flea markets where they would sell their clothes, so you could go and find clothes your size, or they would sell through the Facebook group for very cheap. So that was a lifesaver. I did not find about that at the beginning. I found it much later. And then as I was leaving and the years passed by, also Korea was starting to introduce some plus size clothing, and one famous brand was called Romy Story. And when the shop actually opened, like first it was just an online mall. There was Lady Plus. I do remember Lady Plus, and it was only online, and they had really, really big clothes, but they were not really that fashionable, to be honest. Like it was very, very loose hoodies and shirts, just very loose fitting, because I don't know if you've noticed, but like at least in Korea, for what I can tell, also you can see with idols, as soon as they gain some weight, they get these very poor or bad fashion choices by their stylists that give them like really baggy, loose clothes to try to hide that they got fat. But in fact, I feel like these kind of baggy clothes make them look even bigger, right? Sometimes having something that fits you right and can value your shape is much more flattering than having these baggy clothes that hide everything. And I think it emphasizes the fact that you have something to hide. And wearing that as a plus size person was even more unsettling and uncomfortable, because I did feel like, okay, I have something to feel ashamed of and something that I have to hide. So I think psychology plays also a really big part in it. So there was Lady Plus, and then there was Romy Story open, and Romy Story was much better because they started to introduce much cuter clothes with better designs and some flower prints. And then they did actually open offline stores, and it was very nice because I could go and try on for my size. I would have to say, when I was 116 kilograms, I'm not sure how much that is in American pounds. I'm sure it's almost double. I'm not sure about the conversion rate, but usually it's about double, so around maybe 230 pounds, something like that. It was I could find shirts and jackets at Romy Story, and really, really free size, loose fitting clothes, but pants, no, it was just impossible. I guess it would still be hard now to find my sizes, now that I've lost almost, I've lost around 50 kilograms, give or take. I don't weigh myself anymore these days because I just don't want to live with the pressure and stress anymore. I'm just doing more kind of like intuitive eating and like what makes me feel good in my body. And usually if I've gained or not, I can notice from my clothes, like if they are a little bit more tight or loose. That's how I go about it nowadays. But yeah, so that's me talking about all this stuff is just the challenge of find in clothes. And I would really be curious if anybody living in Korea right now and maybe, being on the plus size of the spectrum, if they can tell me what is it nowadays, like, can you find more clothes for your body type? I guess so, right? It can only get better, not worse, I guess. But yeah, Korean girls in general are much more slim and, yeah, skinnier, slim. It's very difficult to find, at least when I was living there, uh, different body types. I guess it's just the way Koreans, like, it's just their body composition. I'm talking about the majority. I'm not talking about all of them. And you will see why I say that when I will talk about Japan. But I think it's not just a cultural thing, it's also like a physical thing. Like, because Japanese girls are built very, very different. Korean girls are much taller in general and not very curvy, and yeah, they just don't have much fat. Those are facts. That's the way it is, and that's what I could observe from living there 7 years. Also, when I went abroad, every Korean girl I met was like that. Like, sometimes there were some cases where I met a little bit, I wouldn't say chubbier Korean girls, but I would say more curvy, like, with a little bit more curves than the standard Korean body type, female body type. That's what I want to say. So yeah, so for me, that was the number one struggle, which made me feel so insecure on a daily basis. And yeah, of course, I did feel insecure, but I brought that insecurity back from my own country, because I always struggled with my weight. And even in my own country, I always felt so insecure and judged by other people. Like, every time I would walk around, I would always think that people stare at me, or like, when I sit on a bus or on a train, people wouldn't sit next to me because I took too much space. So I would say that was the same in both countries. And I watched some foreigners talking about, like, plus size people in Korea, about how strangers, other people wouldn't sit next to them because they were taking too much space. That did not happen in my case. Maybe once, I would say, but nah, I didn't have bad experiences on that aspect. Yeah, but I do have to say that, unconsciously, every day you do get very influenced by all the advertising that you see around. And that is one of the major differences with Japan, I find, is that in Korea you see, plastic surgery advertisements all over the place, even on buses, plastered on buses, in the subway stations, like, just everywhere. Then you see skinny girls everywhere. The clothes are so tiny, even compared to, like, Western standards. Like, even the large Korean size would be like an S here or XS. Like, the standards are completely different. So yeah, and I had pretty bad experiences when I was shopping. So I would have to say, like, the customer experience was very different, because in Japan, I felt like I was very free to browse around. Like, they wouldn't question what I was doing. I was just looking around. Maybe I'm just, like, looking for designs or buying a present for someone. Customer service in Japan is top notch. It's not about making the customer feel uncomfortable. They don't come and bother you with anything. They just leave you to your thing, and you're definitely free to browse around. They are always behind the cashier. I didn't really see them moving around the store. If they move around the store, like Uniqlo, it's just to tidy things up. But in Korea, if you've been to Korea, it's all about following the customer, making sure, like, if they need anything, that you can help them. But sometimes it can be a little bit pushy, like, like, oh, do you need anything, or like, what are you looking for? And sometimes you're just, like, walking around, you don't really have anything in mind. And sometimes in Korea it was, yeah, a little bit too pushy on that aspect. And I have to say, when I was looking for clothes, many times when I got inside of the stores, the store owner would just tell me, like, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have your size, like, as soon as I stepped into the store, which is, it's just, like, how bad is that? No, like, how sad. How can you treat another person like that, you know? That just drove my confidence just so underground. Like, I just, maybe, you know, I was looking for something for my friend, not necessarily for me. But as soon as I step into the store, they would say like, "Oh, plus size 없어요," or like, you know, "big size 없어요." And eventually I just got discouraged and I did not go into shops anymore because I felt like so judged every time I did that. But in Japan, it was just completely very free, and you can just go inside. Nobody's gonna bother you. Nobody's gonna tell you anything. You can even try, even if it's so small. They're never gonna come and check what you took. Like, you can just try whatever you want. You know, they're not gonna judge you. And yeah, so in that aspect, I think Japan was much more comfortable for me, to freely shop and look for stuff of my size. And that brings me to the next point, which is in Japan, actually, I did find so many clothes. I bought so many clothes, and they are so cheap. Like, in Tokyo, I'm talking about Tokyo, but definitely they have a wider size range, much more than Korea. You can find many more sizes. Many shops like Uniqlo, which start from like XS to XL or XXL, very affordable. And actually, guys, the secondhand stores, those are like sent from heaven. They are just so, I bought all my clothes there, like, and I could find so many things of my size. But not my size now. I guess if I was back to 116 kilograms, i I wouldn't have been able to find as many, but I still feel like I could find some options, especially in the secondhand stores in Koenji, in Ueno. They have some of them. Harajuku, but Harajuku, because it's like kind of like the fashion neighborhood, it tends to be a little bit more overpriced, and they have more like the vintage secondhand market. So yeah, Koenji is definitely the best place for like thrift buys. And it was just so amazing. Like, I could find pants for like $2 or $3. And in Japan, the secondhand market is really well, how can I say, the condition, the quality is really good. Also, when you go and sell clothes, they accept only really good quality clothes. They should be clean. And sometimes, depending on the store, like if you go to Modaf, for instance, they would actually just take stuff which is like brand stuff. Other stores will take any brand, but it has to be in really good condition. So many times I bought stuff which was like new, perfectly ironed, clean, washed, and my size. And you can try them on. And it was just amazing. I could find so many clothes, and I was just so surprised, because when I went to Japan, I thought I was gonna find the same reality as Korea. But no, there were so many sizes. And especially in the vintage market, in the vintage, like if you like vintage, there are super big sizes, because it's like American vintage. So yeah, you can definitely find your size for you. And I see many foreigners actually going to Koenji for very cheap buys. And yeah, so don't be afraid. If you go to Japan, you need to know where to look. If you go, you can just go to a store like Uniqlo, and you will find your size, really good quality stuff. Or you can go to GU, which is like the same manufacturer as Uniqlo, but for like cheaper. So yeah, uh, also, like, you know, the fact that I was able to find my size was really something encouraging for me. Didn't make me feel uncomfortable living there. Didn't feel like I had to go online and find some weird shit, you know, to find my size. Or um, you know, and I could buy really good quality stuff for like $3, $4. It's amazing. In Korea, I was not able to do that. Again, if it's changed, please let me know, but I'm not sure. And also, what I want to say, I think it's also because in Japan there are many more, I think, diverse body types than I could see in Korea. I don't know if this has to do with ethnicity and genetics. As I was saying before, Korean girls tend to be very slim and tall, slender and tall. Not all of them, okay? But I could see much more diversity in Japanese girls. And I was really surprised to see that, because what I could see of Japanese girls were just the images of, like, you know, maybe Chika Idol, or actors. Like I did not actually see that in real life, but it was a pleasant surprise, to be honest. And also the Japanese girls that I met abroad when I was like teaching in Australia, not all of them were skinny. Actually, many of them are chubby, and Japanese girls are much shorter than Korean girls. Japanese men too, they are shorter than Korean guys on average. And I do think that, you know, being shorter makes you like a little bit more you know, shorter and wider. Like if you're taller and you know, if you compare two people with the same weight but different heights, the taller person would look slimmer, right? So yeah, they are chubbier and they are curvier than Korean girls. So I have to say, like Japanese girls compared to Korean girls have much more of like developed chest area. I mean, they have bigger boobies, which I'm not complaining about, because you can find many more bra sizes in the shops, which is, you know, plus point for Japan, I guess. And last point I would like to talk about is saunas. An experience I will never do in Korea, I think. I did go, I don't know why I did that when I was much overweight. It was quite the experience. I actually talked about it in detail in another video, but I did go to a Korean jjimjilbang, and oh my gosh, the stares and the judgment. It was no joke, like, guys. And the thing is that in Korean culture, being upfront, I mean, yeah, and brutally honest, it's a thing, especially when coming from older people, because of the influence of Confucian culture, right? You have to respect the elderly, and what elderly people tell you comes from a place of more wisdom, so you should not counter argue what they say, because they are wiser than you, they have more life experience. Okay, we may disagree on that, opinions may vary, recollections may vary, as the queen said. So yeah, older people will tell you upfront what they think, and yeah, sometimes it's very hurtful. I have to say, when I was living in my ex's house, I was very lucky, because they did not whatsoever make me feel guilty about it, or they fed me really well. It's not like they would keep food from me, because they would say, like, you know, you're fat, you don't need food, or they never judged me for the way I looked, which I'm very grateful about. But that's a special case. I know that in many Korean families, like, children really struggle, because from the prejudice and like the judgment comes from their own family, and then society that keeps reminding them, like, you're fat. But it's not just being about fat and lazy. There might be some psychological reasons behind it, right? So guys, let's be careful what we say to other people. We don't know what's going on in their life. And so yeah, but when I went into stores, people would tell me, you know, I'm fat. And when I went to the jjimjilbang, it was just so traumatizing, because like, actually, they would not hide the fact that they were staring at me. And that's just in general in Korea thing that happens. Like, they stare at you because you're a foreigner, they stare at you because you are different in some way, and they don't really hide it, you know. And sometimes they make it very dramatic, you know, just like a drama. The Korean reactions are very dramatic sometimes. And they would even walk to me and touch my chubby arms or my body, which felt really uncomfortable. Of course, who likes to have their private space invaded like that, right? And and then they would make comments like, why don't you go to the gym, or why don't you come to the gym with me, we could go together and you could lose weight. Which at that point I had already lost like 20 kilograms, but they did not know. I did not care about telling them, because I don't need to share my life and what I'm going through with them. But that is just to say, like, you know, guys, you never know what other people are going through, or what they're doing to improve their life, and what phase in their journey they are in. And you know, I was trying so hard to lose weight, and I had lost 20 kilos, which is not easy, you know, not everybody can do that. And they would make such comments, and of course, how do you think I felt? You know, like, very discouraged, like, oh, I want to lose more and more quickly. But you know, there's like scientific process you have to go through. It's not like you can lose 20 more kilos in one day. It takes time, especially if you want it to be a permanent change. You cannot change in 3 months like those crazy fad diets. Like, it's something that you have to do slowly, consistently. So yeah, that was very hurtful and shocking, and I think I would never go to a Korean sauna ever again. Like, yeah, never, because I will never be skinny like a Korean girl. So until like Korean society changes, I'm not gonna do that. So my experience in a Japanese sento was actually really, really positive. I ended up going there so many times. Actually, I was excited about trying different public baths and sentos because each of them is special. And so yeah, the Japanese culture in that respect is very different, because Japanese people, first of all, don't tell you upfront what they think. That is tatema. It's a Japanese characteristic. Like, they never tell you what they're thinking, or they tell you the opposite. So it's very, very difficult to understand sometimes Japanese people. So sometimes Korean honesty is appreciated. At least I know what I'm going for, and I know what you're thinking, and people can be straight about their feelings. But in Japan, no, don't take anything at face value, because that's not the way it is. It was a big disappointment for me, actually. Even much of the courtesy and hospitality, there are many people who talk about it on the internet, so please go watch it, do your research before coming at me. Sorry, the Japanese, what is it called? Oh my god, I forgot the honne. No, honne is like the real face. There's a word for Japanese hospitality. Please remind me in the comments below, guys. But yeah, most of it is fake. So yeah. But the Japanese sento was a wonderful experience. Japanese people keep to themselves. And as I talked about in my previous video, many Japanese people like quietness. Like, Japan is a much quieter country than Korea. People like to chill, relax, having their own time, their own space. So you will never have someone coming and touching you or invading your space. It's all about, like, respecting each other, respecting the other people. The sense of community is very strong, and not, not being meiwaku, as I said in the previous video, not being a nuisance to other people. It's very, very important to Japan. So that's why many times they keep their own feelings to themselves, because they don't want to hurt other people's feelings. So it's a very complex topic, because you don't want to hurt someone else, you end up repressing yourself, because there are so many things left unsaid, and many misunderstandings that get created by this cultural trait. That's why in animes you see many misunderstandings, especially like in shoujo animes, and you're like, why they don't just tell each other, and that's the end of it. No, so much drama. But yeah, that's Japanese tatemai for you. And also Japanese culture of, like, respecting other people's feelings. I don't know if there's a word for it. I never learned it. Maybe there is. Anyway, so yeah, I would go to the sento. Nobody would look at me. Like, it's not like even they would side look me, try like sneaking a peek, and trying not to like be seen. No, totally no. They would not look at me. They might look at you and judge you if you have tattoos. That's another thing, because it's connected to the Japanese, bad groups. So yeah, nobody looks at you. Everybody's there to chill, wind down, especially after a work day. Japanese people go to sentos very late, even after work. Many sentos are open until 2 a.m., which is great. I used to go also very late at night, so I could sleep very well, being very relaxed. And the Korean sauna was a very rowdy place. The ajumas would scrub their own bags and talk, and like, it's a socializing place. People meet each other and talk. But in Japan, it's a quiet experience. It's a relaxing experience. Everybody goes there to relax, wash, dip in the sentos, and get the medicinal effects. Korea is more about scrub, and get your skin polished and clean and shiny. In Japan, it's medicinal. Of course, they want their skin to look good, but it's more like a medicinal kind of vibe to it. And there are many baths that have like medicines in them. The most chit chat that you can hear is maybe like two obasan in the changing room saying like, oh, hello, how was your day, you're here again, like, the regular customers seeing each other. But that's the end of it. Once you enter the pool area, like the bathtubs area, it's very quiet. Like, you're just there, you do your thing, nobody looks at your body, and that's it. You dip down and you dip in the pool, and it's very relaxing overall. It's very easy also. You just go, you pay, and that's it. Nobody says anything, and very quiet. So it was a very, very enjoyable, relaxing experience. And I did do that when I visited Japan, that trip like 6 years ago. I did go to a sento one time because Japanese sento is just so famous that even though I was really overweight, I really wanted to try it because I heard also very good rumors like that. Japanese people were not judgmental. So it was also at that time also, it was a good experience. Nobody did stare at me, or if they did, I did not notice. So I think that's it for today. I've talked enough again. If you don't want to hear me rambling for so long, please do not. I think these videos are more of like in a podcast format. I hope I can become like that kind of friend for you that keeps you company while you're washing your dishes, cleaning your room, or stretching, or doing whatever, like I do when I listen to YouTube videos. And not necessarily watching them, but I do listen to them a lot. And I hope you found some value in what I said. I'll be happy if you share your opinion under this video, or your experience, if it's different from mine or similar. Again, I said this is my life, this is my bias, this is my experience, so of course it's not universally true. Okay, so don't get offended or say like, oh, that's not like that, blah 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 blah. Okay, there are some truths that we can agree on. Those are objective facts and science. But in this case, I think it tends to be rather subjective. Okay, and some other people, I think I read, said like, oh, just because you lived in Korea for 7 years, that doesn't give you like authority or something like that. But I don't care. You can say what you want. And I do have a degree also in Korean literature and studies, so I do know what I'm talking about as far as it concerns Korea. When I'm talking about Japan, I can mostly talk about I mean, I know a bit about the history and stuff as well by my own research. I do not have a degree on that, so for that I can reference my personal life. But in Korea, I do have a pretty good basis and understanding of where they're coming from. At least maybe I'm not that updated about the recent changes in the last few years, because I've not lived there, and I've not been like much how can I say, on track with the news. But that's me. Guys, if you liked listening to me, please do leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more. If you have any recommendations, or if you'd like me to talk about any other topic, please say so. All right, see you guys soon. Have a good day, have a good night wherever you are in the world. Bye bye. 안녕히 계세요. Bye.